Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and jump in. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Appreciate you braving the elements and coming out today. It's a little bit warmer. I guess the heat isn't going to be here till the next day or so. We're in luck. But anyway, with that, I'd like to call the order the December 15th, 2025 meeting in the Sangamon Mass Transit District to order. Please can I have a roll call, Stephanie?
Yes. Trustee Brewer.
Here.
Trustee Doss.
Here.
Trustee Hasara. Here. Trustee McCarthy. Trustee Dobsco. Here. Trustee Douglas. Here. And Trustee Stratton.
Here. Okay, thank you very much. Last meeting of the calendar year nonetheless, but we still have a number of things to take care of today, so we'll jump right into it. Let's go ahead with the meeting from the regular minutes, November 24th. Those were in your trustee packets. I didn't have time to review them, I hope, but any additions, modifications, corrections to these? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of November 24th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Those, thank you. Let's go into our director's reports. First item there is Managing Director Steve.
Just a couple of things I wanted to point out. One thing that was not in the written report, it's a little bit of a discussion about the weather events we've had recently. 2 or 3 weeks ago, we had a Saturday where we had to end service early because we got 8 or 9 inches of snow that day. We don't like to do that, but that's the way it generally goes when we come in on a day we know we're going to have snow, but we don't know what it's exactly going to look like. So then we also had on December 5th, night service ran throughout the night, even though snow was coming down. It was a little bit hair raising, but they got the job done and everybody got in safely. Between those 2 nights, we had an access van in an accident with no one on board, just slid into a ditch. And then we also had a fixed route vehicle accident too, so caused some damage. So it's always a concern when we get roads like this that are slick and not able to get them completely cleaned off while we're still out there in service. So with all of that in mind, when we saw the forecast, anywhere from an inch to 3 inches or 4 to 8 inches predicted for this last weekend, we talked about it for quite a while, probably more than half the day on Friday, and decided to avoid what happened 2 weeks ago. Instead of having to get everybody here, get them out on the street, get people at destinations, and then have to call off service, we decided to cancel service, which I think I emailed everybody prior to doing that. But it was a bit of a gamble to do that. It's not something we do very often, calling it before the weather event actually hits, but it turned out to be a good call, and we're glad we weren't out there when I saw the snow that was supposed to start at 7 or 8 started at 4 in the morning and went all day long, and it was as much as we were afraid it was going to be. So everybody's done a good job so far working on the nights that we have had weather. And I want to commend especially the road supervisors and some of the other dispatch staff that work on making sure everything gets done that needs to, and our building and grounds guys as well, maintenance, clearing off all the snow. So good job to all of those guys. A couple of other quick things. Our directors retreat and our leadership team retreat happened in the last few weeks. Those went very well. It's always good when Melissa and Michelle and I have a chance to get away from here and have a day-long discussion about anything that we think we need to talk about outside of the interruptions that we have here and everything else. So we look forward to that. That was constructive. And then our leadership team met over at Vinegar Hill Mall in the meeting space that they have there. And we also had a good day over there talking about everything that happened in 2024 and 2025. I'm sorry, I'm already behind. And then what we're looking at in 2026. So lots going on, lots of things to do, a lot of hurdles to jump through to get those things done, but everything's moving forward. So we appreciate those days that we get to take. Holly is still out and about this week. A couple of more appearances for her. Tony's out with the guys whenever that happens out in the community, and we've had a really good response this year. The last event will be Chatham in the Light Up the Park on Saturday, and then I'll be done for the year. And finally, holidays here at SMTD. We won't have service on Christmas Day or New Year's Day. And the administrative offices will be closed half of the afternoons of the 24th and 31st of December. So some service breaks, but not too much. We're still operating almost all the time. So that's all I had for my report.
Very good. Any follow-up or questions for Steve? It's interesting this time of the year, so appreciate everybody being flexible. All right, we'll move along to finance and administration. Michelle, any report?
Good evening. We still have a vacancy in our department for the controller position. We've not hired for that. We have ongoing procurement projects always, but I just wanted to kind of, point some of them out tonight. We have the invitation for bid is out right now for the East Yard development, which is the adjacent property between us and the railroad. We are developing specifications for servers and switches replacement, which our IT community members know this information. The website redesign has been awarded. That's being developed, and we are making our way through the progress payments on that. And we have had the pre-production meeting with New Flyer for the 8 buses order. I'm blanking on the number. But we have had the pre-production meeting for New Flyer. And so there's some ongoing projects. And then finally, we have finalized the project with TSI, which is our onboard video surveillance vendor. So it was board approved in July of 24. So that's how long it takes for projects to get through the cycle. That's my report this evening.
Very good. A lot going on. ETA on the redesign website. I mean, did they give you a date for a first level?
I think we're still a few months out for sure. But I don't know that I don't know a date for sure. I don't have it.
Okay. Just curious. I didn't know if the scope work lend itself to a particular time frame or.
I think it was 9 months to a year after. So within the next 9 months to a year.
Need to be patient, then. That's what you're telling me. Okay. Any comments for Michelle or any follow-up? Thanks as always. And we'll move on to operations. Melissa, any commentary today?
Nope, just battling Mother Nature.
And full us. There's always.
Keeps us busy. We do, I would like to commend, Steve already had, but Tony and my maintenance crew who swap in and out doing Holly, they are really, Tony just is amazing at it. Where's he at? He's just, I don't know, he's full of cheer. We need to get him a Santa costume. He does a great job in it. And his personal time that is put into that is a lot. So I do want to recognize him myself. The run bid for January is in Tyler's hot little hands on its way to Clever. It does have service to motorheads in there on the Route 14. We are incorporating some service out there, which I know we have passengers who ride out there to work, so they'll be appreciative. They don't have to walk across that overpass. And then we made some other additional changes, nothing too significant. Looking for more changes in June. So kind of keeping everything steady, keeping the wheels on the road.
It's always a good thing.
Yep.
Yeah. While we're on the Tony train, or I should say the Tony bus, walking through the parking lot, looking at all the entries, and on December 5th, it was boy, Holly sure stands out. Crew just makes such a great impression for the district. So
They have so much fun when doing it, so it's pretty fun.
So I'm glad for some of the other folks there with a couple lights on the truck that I think we did good. So well done to everybody. Any follow-up from Melissa on any of her talking points? If not, we appreciate everybody's efforts there. We'll go ahead and jump into some reports if we could, please. First item there is the October 2025 financial statements and cash disbursements. Again, those should have been in your packets. So I'll ask for any comments there. There's no discussions. I'll look for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the October 2025 financial statements and cash disbursements.
Second.
Okay, first and second there. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Very good. Some committee reports. I know people have had a busy year, but still a lot going on. Finance committee, anything there? Okay. Thank you. How about from operations?
I have no report.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything from the administration committee?
We met last week. Went over one item that's further down, so I won't get into that. We'll talk about that. Also, we talked a little bit about the vacancy and the request to find a good applicant there. It's a good meeting.
Good, thanks very much. IT steering, any report there?
Yeah, we met recently, talked about some server issues, the IGA with the county, a couple other security issues. Okay.
Very good. Good, thanks again for that. Okay, planning commission report, Jason.
Yeah, so but we're really in the middle of the Safe Streets for All Safety Action Plan. We're working with the consultants at Aurora on that. We're going to get a meeting of the technical committee in January, and I know that Shannon and Melissa have been working together to perhaps get a survey for the drivers who are kind of like, ground level, documentation of what kinds of things they see. So that'd be a very interesting perspective to have as far as safe streets. We're also just want to say that we've been working with the Sangamon County, the grants coordinator. They can get a lot of things for like little small grants for livability or safety and things like that we've been working with other partners as well. So if, we may be coming to people with those opportunities as they come up with the grants coordinator. When they kind of find them, they bring them to us. We can definitely pass those on. The only thing we're working on also is the FY27 work program, where we document what our objectives and what kind of work products that we want to put out for the fiscal year 2027. So that's what we're doing.
Who's ahead of the curve?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. 27, wow. All right then. Any follow-up for Jason? Those talking points there? Not, thanks again this year for your partnership to everybody over there. Last item on our reports was the ADA Advisory Committee. I didn't see David, but they did not meet, didn't have anything. Okay. All right, then we'll jump into some new business if we could. And the first item there is our annual audit report. And Michelle, if you want to introduce that, please.
Yes, we are pleased to present the fiscal year 25 audit this evening. I will say it as a misstep on my part. We did not have a finance committee meeting ahead of it. Not to let the cat out of the bag, it's because we had 0 findings this year. But so it's good news. But I would like to have that next year ahead of the schedule or ahead of the presentation. But this evening, Chad Lucas is here this evening from Sickich to present to you the fiscal 25 audit.
Thanks again for the opportunity to work with the district. I appreciate Michelle and all the rest of the staff, all their hard work during the audit process, answering all the questions that we have. So thought it went very smooth this year. So we did have a little, not a snafu, but the compliance supplement that we have to abide by for the single audit. There was a federal government shutdown, so that didn't get issued until November 25th. So we had to hold off on issuing the report until after that got issued by the federal government. So, okay, so I've got a couple of things for you here. The financial statements and the board packet. So the financial statements are the larger document, and I'll quickly just go through some highlights with this report. Included in here is the first section. There is a transmittal letter written by management on just some economic impact statements, some overview of the operations, long-term financial and capital planning, as well as some major initiatives are discussed in this section. After that is our independent auditors report, pages 1 through 4. Our independent auditors report is an unmodified opinion. Means that based on our audit procedures, we believe these financial statements are fairly presented. After that is the management's discussion and analysis, again, written by management. Included in here is some condensed financial information and some discussion explanation about why things increased and decreased. We'll go through some of the explanations just to highlight some of those things that are included in part of this in a second. We go through the financial statements, but MD&A is a good place to just kind of read 8, 9 pages, and get the condensed picture and the activity that's happened during the year in a condensed financial statement with some narratives about it. If you turn to page 5 and 6 on the financial statements, this is your balance sheet. It's the statement of net position. So included in this report is your assets on page 5. That's broken out into current assets and non-current assets. Current assets there, cash and cash equivalents of 7.7 million, about $1 million of investments. And then there's a list of receivables that are included in there, taxes, operating assistance grants, capital assistance grants, and then some other receivables, as well as inventories and prepaid expenses. In the non-current assets, then you have some non-current investments. You have a net pension asset. You can see there that net pension asset is a little over $1 million at IMRF. So the market conditions are such that the assets on hand at IMRF exceed the actuarial liability at IMRF. So I think you're almost 103% funded at the end of it's based on calendar year 12/31/24. IMRF reports on a calendar year. So good position to be in IMRF. And then you have capital assets listed there. Capital assets net of accumulated depreciation. Also included in there now are right to use subscription-based IT arrangements. That's at the bottom of that section. And those things are amortized as well. So a total of about $55.7 million this year compared to about 56. So a little bit less, $300,000 less in assets than last year. And then if you turn over to page 6, this is your liabilities. At the top section, your liabilities are accounts payable, accrued payroll taxes and retirement, compensated absences. The subscription-based IT arrangements are included in here. And then you have the non-current liabilities, and you can see there that there's a non-current portion of your subscription-based IT arrangements, the SPITA liability. But the largest item that you have in your liabilities is your other post-employment benefits liability obligation, which is about $5.6 million there. There's some deferred inflows related to your IMRF and your OPEB calculations, your actuarial calculations. But that bottom section there is your net position. So this is your equity, assets less liabilities equal equity. And you can see there that you have about $45.2 million, and that's down a little bit compared to last year. But included in that, that's up a little bit, $100,000 or so. But that is made up of that first number, 31.1 million. That's your capital assets net of accumulated depreciation and amortization. Typically, that also is netted by any debt on those assets. You don't have any debt, so that 31.5 million, there's not a subtotal, but it should agree to the assets and the accumulated depreciation on page 5 there. You also have a restricted net position, and that number is the same number as that net pension asset that we've listed on the IMRF on page 5. And so you have unrestricted net position of about 12.2 million, up from 11.7 million. If you turn over to page 7, this is your income statement for the 2 fiscal years that we have listed, reported here. I'll just kind of start by looking at the very last, the third row from the bottom, the net income number, because this is a pretty large difference over last year, and that I wanted to point out a few things. It's still a positive increase in your change in net position of 31,720, but last year you can see was 13.3 million. So that's made up, that change from last year to this year is made up of a few different categories. If you look right above that change in net position, there's a section called capital contributions. You can see the total capital contributions last year was 11.4 million. This year it's only 2.7 million. So there's a decrease of almost $9 million in revenue that relates to those grants. This is primarily driven to, in 24, I think you had like 10, 12, somewhere in that range of new buses that were like I think $1 million a piece. And so you didn't have all those this year. And so that's the biggest piece of that difference. So that's 9 million. If you look up in the depreciation and amortization increased by about $900,000. That's because those buses that you purchased last year, you acquired, there's depreciation on those this year. And then the operating and maintenance expenses, there's a pretty large increase there as well. And that's made up of a lot of different things, but there's the wages are part of that increase, which is discussed in the MD&A, the new contract that was issued, and so just wage increases in general. But then in addition to that, there's also the adjustments to your IMRF actuarial accrued liability that plays a factor in those operating and maintenance expenses. In FY24, the difference between the beginning of the year actuarial accrued liability and the end of the year liability, it went from a $1.6 million liability to a $900,000 net pension asset. So it's like $2.5 million decrease in a liability. That adjustment that gets made is made through the expense accounts that relate to IMRF, which last year reduced your expenses by about $2.5 million. This year, that difference between the beginning of the year was only about $175,000. So about $2 million of this difference relates to the actuarial accrued liability that has to get recorded, that's provided to us by IMRF. So it's a little deceiving in that there's a significant increase, but some of that relates, a good chunk of that relates to this calculation that IMRF gives to us to make in terms of their actuarial accrued liability. So that's just kind of a quick summary of why it decreased why your net income decreased so much. But again, as I mentioned before, still a positive increase in your net position of 31,000. Page 8 is your cash flow statement. That just kind of discusses all the changes in all the categories: operating, non-capital financing, capital and related financing. This year you had a net change in cash, a decrease of about 1.1 million, third line from the bottom there. So just kind of discusses what changes in cash position you have. Note 9 is a reconciliation for your operating activities as well as some non-cash activities as well. Then page 10 and 11 are your statements for your OPEB trust fund. And page 10 is the assets that you have for your OPEB trust fund, so the assets that you have on hand. There are no liabilities that are reported for this trust fund because the liability is actually not in the trust fund itself, but it is the district's liability. But you can see there, total restricted net position, you have about $9.4 million of assets that are in the trust fund to pay future OPEB benefits. And then on page 11 is the income statement relates to the trust fund. Third line from the bottom there is your change in net position, and you can see there that positive increase of about 615,000, similar to last year, 505,000. So again, positions improved in both the trust fund as well as the district for the fiscal year ending FY25. Any questions so far?
Back to the change in position regarding the positive and negative in the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
Was that GASB 48 that changed that to make this this particular line item? Have we always included that in that section?
In the operating
Page 7, yeah.
operations and maintenance expense, yeah. So essentially, when IMRF, if you turn to page 54. So during the year, IMRF will, or at the beginning of each year, IMRF tells you what percentage of wages that they want you to contribute to IMRF to cover the current benefits that they pay out, as well as the expected future benefits.
Right.
And that difference between the two, they amortize that over significant number of years so that you don't have to pay it all at once. But over the past 10 years, back in 2016, they were requiring that you make $1.1 million in contributions to IMRF annually. It's now down to half of that, 590,000. That's because of the market conditions over the last 10 years. The assets at IMRF that they hold on your behalf has continued to increase with the market conditions.
Sure.
And so the adjustments or the calculations that they do, if you turn to page 38, actually, no, don't go to page 38. Page 55. You look at page 55, right behind that. Oh, that's OPEB. Page 53. 52 and 53. On the bottom of page 52 is the 10-year trend information for the IMRF calculations. It starts back in 2015 on the very right side. So the bottom number you can see in 2015, at the end of calendar year 2015, IMRF had there was a net pension liability of $2.2 million. That decreased to 1.3 million. There was a market swing and it increased. The negative numbers are assets. That means that you have more assets on hand at IMRF than the liabilities. So over the last 2 years, if you look at the 22, 23, and 24 columns, between 22 and 23, at the end of 22, there was a net pension liability of $1.6 million. At the end of 23, there was a net pension asset. So that swing is about $2.5 million. So essentially what that means is that when you adjust the accrual, you reduce the liability, but you're also reducing the expenses that are included in that operations and maintenance section. That's the other side of the entry, when you make the entry for the accrual. So it makes the expenses look less whenever you're reducing the liability. But you can see the difference between 23 and 24 was only like $175,000 or something. So the adjustment to the accrual didn't impact the expenses that were recorded when you made the payments at the end of the year, the adjustments that were made. So it didn't impact the income statement as much as it did in the prior year. That's why it looks like there's a significant swing in the expense, the operating expenses. But they've always been included in those operating maintenance because you have GAAP-based financial statements, so you have to adjust for accrued the accruals.
Sure. Seems like an odd place to put it.
Yeah, and
Anyway, we won't get into it. Just
yeah,
keep going. I know
and
we've
you
been
can-
ahead of it.
well, you can kind of see. So we break out on page 59 and 60. 59 and 60, and you kind of have to look at this. It's facing pages, so you kind of have to look at it like this. But 59 and 60, you can see that the fringe benefits line is that second section there. And you can see the fringe benefits in 2025 are 4.361 million, and 2024 is 2.3 million. So that's most of that is the result of that adjustment in the accrual for IMRF expenses.
Anyway, the main thing is we've been ahead of it. We've made contributions.
Yes,
even-
but you've always made, that schedule on page 53, you've always made what IMRF tells you to make.
Sure.
And everyone who participates in my IMRF has benefited from the market conditions being
Right.
where they're at now. So.
So that's been a plus. But, okay, thanks for the extra.
So after that are notes to the financial statements. I won't go through those in detail. They're just explanations that have detailed information about the numbers that we just went through on the financial statements. After that is those statements that we've been looking at in the required supplementary information, like the 10-year trend information. So that's included in the IMRF section. We also have in here, if you turn to page 64. So on page 64 through 69, we have a couple of opinions. We have opinions that we have to issue in accordance with government auditing standards, and then over compliance over financial reporting. And so both of those opinions are unmodified opinions. On page 70 is your schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So that's the single audit that we have to do because you spend more than $750,000 in federal expenditures. That was the compliance supplement we were waiting for the federal government to issue before we could issue our report. But your total federal expenditures of awards on the bottom of page 70 was 6.6 million during FY25. And the major programs that we tested all have the asterisks next to them. So we tested your federal transit cluster programs, which was about 6.2 million of that 6.6. And then the last section that we have is your downstate operating assistance grant. That page 74 and 75 and 76 is our opinion on that. No compliance findings that we noted. On page 77 is your downstate operating assistance grant schedule. Lists all your revenues, expenses, your eligible operating expenses, and the fact that you receive 65% of those eligible expenses as part of your contract with the state. So included in there, you have about $15.3 million of downstate operating assistance to cover those eligible operating expenses. It's kind of a quick summary of the audit report. Be happy to try and answer any questions.
Any trustees have questions for Chad?
I like page 72 and 73. Where it says, auditee qualified as low risk, yes. And page 73, prior findings, none noted. When that comes to me in draft form, I go to this page first. So what is it? What's it going to tell me? So.
I mean, we didn't have to read the first 71 pages?
Yeah, I have to go back and read it all, yeah. Skip ahead to the ending.
Appreciate that.
Great job.
The other document that we have is the board report. So just, this is pretty thin because there's hardly any findings here. So page 1 is just a cover letter. Page 2, 3, and 4 is our required communication to those charged with governance. In this letter, we discuss the significant estimates that we have to consider during the audit process. We indicate that there's no difficulties that were encountered in performing the audit, corrected and uncorrected misstatements. We didn't have any audit adjustments this year, but we did have a schedule of adjustments that we did not post because they were considered immaterial to the financial statements. But we still have to disclose those to you, and I'll just quickly go through that in a second. No disagreements with management. We did get a management representation letter indicating that everything that they've provided to us is accurate and complete. Yep. So page 5 then is that schedule of past adjustments that we noted a few things that we did not make these adjustments, but we're required to disclose those. The first one is the personal property replacement tax receivable. There's a receivable recorded that technically shouldn't be recorded as a receivable. We've discussed that, and I think next year they're just going to not record it completely. There is some overstatement of accumulated amortization related to the SPITA calculations. It's a kind of a difficult calculation, so we always rerun that to make sure. Just 31,000 or so. The understatement of asset retirement obligations. So this has actually been not a finding, but something that we've noted as a management letter the past few years, and that the GASB 84, 80, I don't even remember which one it was, required that if you have fuel tanks, that you have to determine, get a calculation or an estimate to determine what the retirement obligation for those fuel tanks will be in the future. And so it was identified a few years ago. There was an estimate that we've included on this schedule the past several years. This year, there was a calculation that was actually done, a study that was done to determine that amount. Those amounts are now on this schedule, what was determined. The adjustment wasn't made on the financial statements for this year, but I think the consideration is maybe going forward that adjustment might be made. Regardless, we included that thing. We didn't make the adjustment. We just have to disclose it on here. It wasn't considered material. And then the very last thing is there's a federal fuel tax, fuel credit receivable that's reported for about $115,000. The program technically expired at the end of December of 24. So this portion of the receivable was the piece that was estimated starting January 1st, 25 through June 30th, 25. That program, to our knowledge, hasn't been extended, so really that shouldn't be a receivable. Then on page 6 is our management letter, and we, as she mentioned, we didn't have any material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal controls that were required to be disclosed. The only comment that we've had the past few years is just a recommendation about IT controls and disaster recovery plan and things like that. So that's really just a repeat comment from the prior year. The comment that we did have that comment last year about the asset retirement obligation. We deleted that comment because you've had that calculation performed. So.
I know a lot of work goes into this on both sides, so we appreciate everybody's efforts. But trustees, any follow-up? I know you're excited to get home and start reading this in detail. Actually, my opinion is probably that and the 5-year plan. These 2 items are the things I really look forward to reading to. So well done. But a lot of good findings. It's based on a lot of hard work from the staff. So any last minute comments, Chad, that you would add to this?
Again, thank you. Thanks to everybody who participated in the process. It was, I think it went smoothly. So.
Okay. Well, again, we appreciate all your hard work and partnership there. So if there's no further discussion, I'll look for a motion.
To accept it. Motion to accept. I'll make a motion to receive and file the fiscal year 2025 independent financial audit and direct staff to finalize all changes and comply with all filing regulations as appropriate.
First, second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Very good. Well, again, thanks once again. We have approval and look forward to doing it again soon, right, Chad? Happy holidays. Thanks very much. Okay, next item under new business is our Growth Alliance membership renewal. Steve, will you address that for us, please?
Yeah, this is an annual thing that we've been doing since it was called Q5, and it was Lincoln Land Development in the Growth Alliance. Ryan McCready sends his regrets. He was going to present for this like he normally does, but he's out of town for a conference. So I just would like to point out that some of the things that they've been doing in the last few years that you've seen in the news, Amazon, Shields Sports Park, Pillsbury Reclamation Project, the Black Diamond Solar Farm, and the data center project that they're talking about right now are all products of the work that SSGA does. So they're very impactful to what goes on in the county and the city. And it's a good thing for us to be a partnership with this organization.
Absolutely. Is that amount, contribution amount in the memo, correct?
I think that should be a monthly.
2,500.
I think that's monthly.
It's monthly.
I think our annual is usually 25, isn't it?
Right.
I think it's 30.
Is it bumped up to 40?
I think so.
Okay. I just said annual pledge on, just so
Yeah, that's a
low to
typo.
me, so, all right, thank you. All right then. Again, on behalf of the trustees, I think this is a very good partnership and there's a lot of good things that come out of it that we're involved in, so I think that if there's any questions or comments regarding it.
I make a motion to renew the 2026 membership commitment for the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance.
Second.
Excellent. We have a first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed to this? Very good. Approval to contribute and partner into that particular initiative next year. So thanks very much. The next item is the IMRF leave of absence pay resolution. Michelle.
Yes, so in the packet tonight, one of the items is an employee has requested to purchase service credit. He missed out on service credit due to an extended absence. We did present this item to our admin committee in more detail. But is not a normal, it's an unusual request, but it's not an unusual action. I mean, it is time that he would have worked here normally. He's out on workers' comp. So he's just buying that time back. And there's no wages reported during that time because he's being paid through workers' comp. So that's how that happened.
Okay, any discussion here?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is something IMRF asks, right, for this to come to the board, and
Yes.
that's their requirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's their process, yeah.
So he was off 2 months on workless leave, and he just wants to buy back the credit.
The service time, the 4 months. So he will have to pay his portion and we'll have to pay our portion. It's not as much of a hardship for us because we wouldn't budget for that normally. You know, we would normally have paid those 4 months. So financially, it wasn't too much. And we didn't put some of the information in the board packet. Well, the numbers might be in the board packet. But we didn't want to put personal information in the board packet form. But yeah, so he has to pay his 4.5% to buy that time back.
This is standard practice. I mean, any eligible employee that participates is allowed to do this.
Up to 12 months
Yep.
in the course of their career.
Ordinarily, we would do it differently. Can you explain that, Melissa?
The process itself is kind of built into when an employee incurs an absence that exceeds 30 days without pay. It typically would trigger a response for the employer to notify IMRF. They could notify IMRF of this employee's absence, projected absence that we expect to exceed 30 days. At that point, IMRF is made aware. It involves the actual application for partial disability through your pension program. So at that point, the employer has submitted our information, the employee and the employee's doctor does their part. So they may find themselves eligible for that while they are off for their own medical condition. You typically, as an employer, you know, it could be left up to the employee to initiate that proceeding, or the employer, from what I can tell, the employer can instigate that to keep these types of situations from coming around as frequently. It's not something that SMTD has to say yes to. It's not something that we typically wouldn't. It's important. Service credit is important. But I think through a period of time when we've had a few HR managers shuffling, this procedure may have been lost in that shuffle. So doing research with Michelle on this and looking at it, like this isn't something I'm aware that we've ever had to come to you guys and do before. So as we were researching that with IMRF, we're like, okay, this is most likely why it hasn't, is because at some point this procedure got lost. So we got it back on track, I think. But for this employee, he's going to be retiring soon. So he was wanting to get that service credit back on the books, which is, yeah, I don't blame him.
I don't either.
So we don't have a problem with it. And we're going to try to keep that from being a process that we have to go through because it's cumbersome. I think it's easier to just get that paperwork in there, and it's beneficial to the employee to do that with partial disability as well. So,
Thanks for the explanation. Any further deliberations on this, anybody? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the benefit protection.
Second.
Okay, we have first and second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Take approval for that. And the last item that we have under new business is credit card switch authorization. So, Michelle, you want to come out and for us as well?
Yes. We currently have a corporate credit card and we are charged a monthly fee per card. So we've been looking at that for a while, as well as it's not a universally accepted credit card company. So we would prefer to switch to a Visa type card. So I looked into Visa a few different times, and it's like once you got over so many cards, they said they'll have a fee. But fortunately, we were able to find one through Bank of Springfield that does not have a fee. So that's what is before you tonight, is to change over. We still have the current credit card. We haven't canceled anything there. And we have about 7 or 8 users, 7 or 8 employees who have a company credit card. So.
Before we call for motion, I just wanted to, as a footnote, abstain from any voting on this because when they were looking through vendors, the one that was selected was my employer, so I just want to make sure there's no conflict there for everybody. But a great job saving money, even though it doesn't sound like a lot, but you're getting it.
Yes.
And the convenience factor too, so thanks for allowing me to interject there. But any further discussion on this? Any questions?
I think Bank of Springfield is a great place to get a credit card.
That's good to hear.
First-hand testimonial from the trustees, so.
And as part of the application process, it asks for a resolution. So that's why you'll see in the packet, there's a resolution, there's a roll call this evening for that. We have to fill it out. I'm the control person on the application, so that you can see that portion in the application. That's who we identify as the control person. In the resolution, I identified all 3 directors, though, as authorized signers.
Anything else? If not, I'll look for a motion here.
I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing staff to execute a credit card application at Bank of Springfield.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Can I have a roll call, please, Stephanie, on this?
Sure. Trustee Sarah,
Yes.
trustee McCarthy. Oh, I'm sorry, she's out. Trustee Dabsco.
Yes.
Trustee Douglas.
Yes.
Trustee Stratton.
Yes.
Very good, we have approval. Thanks very much for looking at the small things too. That's just as important. So, okay, folks, that finishes up our new business segment. Any public comments? Because I know we will have to go into the closed meeting. So.
We do have 2 today.
Okay.
We have Jane Ford says, Friends of Transit wishing all peace and joy this holiday season. And we have Ron Walker saying, thanks for having the board meetings on YouTube. Have a happy holiday.
Very good. Very good. Well, we'll say thanks very much to those 2 because they are active and we appreciate them. Anything else? Okay. Well, folks, you're more than welcome to come back after our closed session, but fearing the cold weather and wanting to get home, I will just say on behalf of all the trustees, happy holidays. Best wishes for a healthy and prosperous new year coming up. If we don't see you before then, thanks very much. So, okay. And with that,
I make a motion to close the second meeting and open the public meeting. Section 5, ILCS, first reading, 2C, well, this applicant is
first and second.
Oh, second.
Okay, so thank you very much. All right, then. Any further discussion?
Have a good Christmas.
Okay, the open meeting for December 15th is now reopened. Is there any further business to come before the board this evening? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, very good, folks. The meeting is adjourned. And with that, again, happy holidays to everybody. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Have a good Christmas, everyone.
Yeah, unless you want it. I keep the top sheet just for you.